Okay, what is poppin', people?
How we doing, fam?
How we living? How we feeling? Let us know who's in the chat, who we're hanging out with. We see Vorard, or like the morning sun, a consistent viewer. Welcome in, welcome in. Hope you guys are all doing well. Drop a like on the stream. Hopefully you're having a great Sunday. Sunday night now. Sunday night, I feel like Sunday night is such a depressing part of the week because I feel like, what's up, Lazy? It's like, oh, still the weekend, but this looming, back to reality is in the back of your head. But maybe that's just me. Hopefully you guys had a good weekend. We've got some Dynasty teams that we are going to be helping out on today's stream. So, let me look at the teams that we're helping out today. Today we are helping CoachCed, the Mighty Bouch, NateDawg, and LazyBones. We're going through all of your teams.
That's right.
And breaking them down. In fact, I'm going to actually tag all these people. CoachCed, the Mighty Bouch,
LazyBones. Or NateDawg and LazyBones.
NateDawg and LazyBones, just so they know.
Yeah, LazyBones is already here, actually.
Yeah.
What's happening, LazyBones? What's up, Jason? Juicebox? Payton, how we feeling, man? I hope you guys had a good weekend so far. It's over there Sunday over there. 9:40.
Yep.
In the morning here, Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
What's up? The brand new week.
What's up, Jason? Juicebox, Payton. He says been drafting 8-hour puppy twos nonstop. Didn't know Underdog had slow drafts. I love it. Yes, sir. Yeah, they got some slow draft features for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we do this every week. What's up, Dan? What's up? Just so everyone knows, let's get straight into it. We got to plan out the entire week after this stream, but what we're doing tonight is we are breaking down people's Dynasty teams who have signed up with our code to Flock Fantasy. So everyone that you see tonight, if we're breaking down their team, that means they're supporting us over on the site. Pretty simple. Use our code LAND, LAND, at flockfantasy.com/land. You're going to get 30% off, and then you'll get one of your Dynasty teams graded on a live stream just like this from Badake and myself. So that's what we're doing today. Appreciate you guys for joining us. The first team that we have today is from CoachCed.
Shout out to Coach.
And I might be saying that wrong. Is it CoachCed or CoachCed? I think Ced, but I could be wrong.
Maybe
Let us know.
Maybe it's Ced. I'm not necessarily sure.
But he says 12 teams, super flex, start 9, 2 flex spots, passing quarterback premium, 6 points, 1 point every 10 yards. That's a big difference because typically it's 1 point every 25 yards. Mahomes went for 762 points in 2022 instead of standard 429, while Fields went for 350 instead of 306. Okay. Hence me drafting Young over Richardson. Full rebuild, went no running backs while rebuilding quarterback and wide receiver core and loading up on picks for the Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Darby. Okay, so let's look at the squad here. We don't have a sleeper ID.
No, we don't.
Make sure this might not be a sleeper league though from Coach, so I'm not sure. But anyone who does sign up with our code and submits, just make sure to pop your sleeper ID in there. But quarterback, we've got Pat Mahomes, Bryce Young, and then we've got Matt Corral, Marcus Mariota. It is super flex. At running back, he already mentioned this, but he went full rebuild. So it's Jerome Ford, Keontae Ingram, Pierre Strong, Kyron Williams, Fournette. Not a lot there. At wide receiver, we've got Olave, JSN, Elijah Moore, Kadarius Toney, Jordan Addison, Khalil Shakira. And at tight end, we've got Chig and Irv Smith. I love this team. I mean, if I was to rebuild, this is kind of the pieces that I would probably be rebuilding with. And then on taxi, he has a couple players that we really like, and Xavier Hutchinson, Charlie Jones, Parker Washington.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then in 2024, he has 3 top 4.
Projected top 4, and then 3
5 to 8.
5 to 8 first rounders, I'm assuming.
So it sounds like he has 7 first round picks next year. And it is a 12 team, so that means he's got 2 second round picks and then all picks in 25 and 26.
Okay.
So first thing I will say, in this format, like he said, quarterbacks 6-point passing touchdown and then 1 point for every 10 yards. You know, I mean, that's having Pat Mahomes. You might be competing even in this rebuild.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
You know, but you've got Pat Mahomes, you've got Bryce Young, so that's a really good combo, really good 1-2 for Dynasty. I like this quarterback room. I would not suggest selling Patrick Mahomes. I would not suggest selling Bryce Young. At this point in a rebuild, I think you hold, unless you have anything that you see there.
No, you keep both of these quarterbacks. Patty's obviously for the future, and Bryce Young is for the future as well. So let's see what both of those guys look like together on your team moving forward. But yeah, keep the quarterbacks intact.
With the amount of picks that you have next year, I mean, it feels like you could also just like be a 1-year punt and then compete, really. I think you could be in that position. You look at the running backs. I mean, look, Jerome Ford, Keontae Ingram, both players that I've brought. I think you've brought Jerome as well in the past. One of the guys that you love, as you know, these handcuffs that you must have could have impact here in 2023. We talked about Pierre Strong on a video that we released last week. He's that running back out of New England. I think he could develop into some sort of James White role. So look, really, your entire running back room, which is how it should be in a rebuild, is just backups, handcuffs, guys that really aren't going to contribute to any sort of wins here in year one. So clearly no sell highs, right? I mean, if Leonard Fournette signs somewhere, then sell him. I mean, I would take a 3rd-round pick if he signed somewhere, you know? But outside of that, I don't see anyone that you're really able to sell high on this team.
Yeah, there's no one here really. I think the running back room kind of stays intact as well throughout this season, unless one of these guys pops off. I mean, if Jerome Ford does really take over the Kareem Hunt role that we hope and expect, that would be really exciting. If if James Conner goes down and Keontae Ingram is taking a big chunk of that opportunity. Let's say James Conner goes out for 6 weeks, right? 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to be interested in trying to sell Keontae Ingram during the season to see what I can get. Just because the longevity of Keontae is that's not the true answer for this Arizona Cardinals team. They might draft another running back this year or coming into next year, or maybe even get someone in free agency. So keep that in mind, trying to sell these guys at the right time. Whether that is Jerome Ford, I mean, as much as I love Jerome Ford, if the price is right, sure. And the same thing with Keontae Ingram, trying to sell at the right time.
Agreed. So on to the wide receiver room: Olave, JSN, Elijah, Tony. I mean, and then Addison as well. So really, you've done a really good job of already kind of building up that wide receiver room. You know, I am not someone who wants to sell Chris Olave. I would want to build around him. The same can be said for JSN for me. And then when I look at Elijah Moore and Kadarius Toney, I just think like in this sort of team, you could move those guys based off of hype right now, but you're almost better off with the amount of first-round picks you already have in the bank. You're better off waiting to see what they look like in season. And, you know, in the first 5 weeks, if Tony's a top 12 guy, if Elijah's a top 12 guy, I mean, you would probably hold him, Badake, right? But you can make that decision then. You know, I just feel like right now it's probably not wise to sell these guys because, hey, if they don't pan out, okay, you missed out on like a mid-second round pick, right?
Yeah.
If they do pan out, then you've already got a ton of first-round picks, but you can add to that collection, or you can use those guys, let's say, right before the trade deadline to get a running back that got injured in the season, like this year's Javonte Williams, right? So it's not gonna hurt your team this year, but eventually when you're ready to compete, you know, you love that running back and it steps up. Let's say one of these rookies get injured, or, you know, Ken Walker, you know, who knows, right? Like Charbonnet, you know, say a running back that's in this 23 class. You know, that's the kind of strategy I would go with forward, but the main guys I would want to build around would be Olave, JSN, Addison. And then if Elijah Moore or Tony turn out to be something, then that's great. We can either hold them and build around them, or we can sell them in season if they become, a reliable asset.
Exactly. I think the one guy I definitely do want to touch on, I love Elijah Moore. I think you know how much I love him, and the community knows how much I love him. I'm personally would keep him. If there was one person I will sell on this team, whether it's now or at the right time, will probably be Kadarius Toney, kind of what you were alluding to. For those running backs, like you said. I mean, I know it seems like you already did your rookie drafts. Obviously, you have Jordan Addison on this team, but I'm happy to take a chance for like according to the community right now, you can get a Sam Laporta for Kadarius Toney for the
Right.
future. You know, I know you have Chig already. Just a name, right? If you want to go somewhere, someone like a James Cook, if you like that. I know it's a bit risky, but those are some players I personally would like, just to give my 2 cents with Kadarius Toney. I just don't see him staying healthy. If he does stay healthy, that's great, and then I'm wrong. But at the same time, that's also the risk you're going to be taking in season, because once Kadarius Toney, let me not say once, if Kadarius Toney does get injured in season and he's missing another four game stretch or 6 game stretch, whatever the case may be, everyone's going to go back straight to that wheel, like, oh, I don't want Kadarius Toney because he's injured, right? But if he has 2-3 games, let's say the first 3 weeks he's top 20 wide receiver and he hasn't gotten injured yet, I'm willing to sell high at that point in time. But that's just my 2 cents.
I think that's my ideal route. You know, unless there's like
Yeah.
a Chiefs fan in your league who's willing to pay high now on what's projected, then I'm down. But
Yeah.
I think overall, just the construction of the team, I'd be willing to hold and see what happens. But, you know, use your best discretion, you know, based off of the offers that you get. And then at tight end, I love this. I love the Chig pick. I've been talking about Chig. Badake's been talking about Chig. Been talking about buying him all off season. Even in a rebuilding team, I feel like he's a tight end that I still want to pay at price. I know some people say it's pricey. I still would pay the price. So it's good that you have him. I would not suggest moving Chig Okonkwo. Irv Smith could turn into like a weekly streamer. You could potentially move him in season. But really, like, I will say this, Coach, like, you've done everything to put yourself in a position where, like, it's quite obvious the route moving forward. You know, a couple names that you could look at selling, but you've pretty much sculpted this team into what it will be this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think you made the right moves. I think you're absolutely in the right position. You have a tremendous amount of picks next year. Honestly, you just got to sit tight and sell high at the right time. Whatever the case, whatever happens, to be completely honest. I mean, if Pierre Strong gets an opportunity, he has the James White role, sell high, you know, like kind of like what Zach said about Lenny, same thing, sell high. But other than that, I think these are all people I'm willing to hold.
Yeah.
Every single one of these guys. I mean, if there was somebody to drop, maybe I'm happy to drop Marcus Mariota. But there's no one else I'm willing to drop here.
I think even in like his league, if Jalen Hurts was to get injured, he could get a decent amount of capital for Mariota, you know?
Yeah.
Matt Corral feels like, I guess because he has Bryce Young, you hold Matt. I mean,
yeah, you kind of want to hold him just in case.
Yeah, he'll make his decisions based off of roster. But look, overall, I would say you've done a really good job of establishing a team with foundations to rebuild around. So if anything, well done. I hope that this is helpful. I mean, the funny thing is you have so many picks next year, you don't really need to tank. So, like, the opposite side of this spectrum is everyone on your team hits, right? And then you're sitting at, like, you're like the 5th seed, and six teams go to the playoffs, I'm assuming, in your league. You're like the 5th seed, right? And it's 2 weeks before your trade deadline. Maybe you utilize 1 or 2 of those first-round picks to get a couple running backs and just, like, let's see where we go with this thing. But again, as Badake mentioned, the best route moving forward is to be patient and sell at the right time. So, well done.
Good, great team though. Great team. So,
yeah, agreed. Okay, the mighty Bouch. I'm gonna have to grab her sleeper ID. Let me grab that. But the mighty Bouch is up, and just while I'm grabbing that, can you just tell the people how they can get their team on this show?
Yeah, guys. So all you have to do is, if you want your team graded, all you have to do is sign up to Flock Fantasy, use our code LAND, and then select the mother Flocker tier. Once you all sign up, send us a screenshot, send us a message on Discord. We'll get you all set up, and then the next one we can get your team graded for you next week. So once again, or it could be today, depending on if you send that screenshot. Once again, go to flockfantasy.com/lands, use the code LAND, select the mother Flocker tier, and that's exactly how you can sign up to get your team graded by myself and Zach, which is awesome. All
right, let's have a look at this thing. So
the mighty
Michigan Knee Biters, I believe, is the team name. So we're second there in the power rankings.
Wow.
So
See.
we will look at this team in a second. I just want to read out some of the context. 12 team, Superflex, Start 10, PPR. So pretty standard Dynasty Superflex format. She sent us a message.
Let's see.
She said, major recent trades were received Devontae Adams for my late 24 first and Parker Washington. Sent Dotson, Brian Robinson, and my 24 second for Brees and a 24 third. I like that trade as much as I love Dotson. Then sent Brees and Olave for JT, DK, and a mid to late 24 first. After acquiring Devontae Adams, I still have 2 24 firsts to make a move. I'm not sure if I should have done the Brees Hall deal because it was hard to let go of Olave, but gaining leverage of that 24 first was a bet I had to take. Okay, so it's no tight end premium.
Start 10.
Okay, want to go for the championship, she says. So
Okay,
let's look at this team. Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, very good 1-2. And in your format, I definitely think you can be competing with those two quarterbacks. At quarterback 3, obviously it's a question mark, but it's rare that these quarterbacks sustain some sort of season-long injury, right? If you come down that track, then there's nothing you really could have done to avoid that. I would hold with this quarterback room unless you have anything to add.
Yeah, I'm holding. Obviously, you have Will Levis for the future, and I like you got the sneaky Baker and Kyle Trask. I know it maybe doesn't mean much right now, but if somehow they're kind of playing good, maybe we can see what happens and sell them or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I'm not holding on to, or I'm not moving or any of these guys.
Yeah, Baker is either this year's Geno Smith or he's Baker Mayfield, and I feel like he's Baker Mayfield, but we'll find out for the what, third, fourth time. Yeah. At running back, so keep in mind the trade that she mentioned she did.
She had Brees Hall.
She had Brees Hall. She sent away Brees Hall, as well as Olave for Jonathan Taylor, DK Metcalf, and a mid first. And I think that's pretty good value. Yeah, I mean,
especially if you're trying to compete this year, you know,
yeah, for sure.
You kind of shaky if Brees is going to be ready, if he's really going to get the workload, even in the second half of the season. So it makes sense going for JT there.
So we've got Jonathan Taylor, Dameon Pierce, Rashawn Johnson, Jerome Ford, Zach Evans, Jerick McKinnon. So really, the players that I think you feel comfortable starting with is JT and Dameon Pierce.
Yeah,
I would have preferred to have a little more depth in a team that I want to compete with right now. Maybe Jerick McKinnon can continue and pick up his form. So maybe this is one of those scenarios where, hey, if McKinnon his role is completely gone, we might need to add depth to this running back room in season.
Right.
But I think JT and Dameon Pierce is a good RB1, RB2. Depending on the rest of the team. And rest of the team, we got Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams. I'm going to have some questions about depth. It's start 10, right? So Allen, Watson, Taylor, Pierce, that's 4. Smith, Metcalf, Adams, that is 7.
7.
Kittle is 8. So that means we're going to have to start Elijah Moore in Jerick McKinnon or Elijah Moore, Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, one of those two. So it seems like it's 3 wide receivers, 2 flex spots, it seems like, on this team build. Actually, we could just put starters and see what that looks like.
Okay.
What's her team name again?
So yeah, the keep trade cut would have Adams, Johnston, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is start 9. I don't know if Mighty Bouch is in the chat. But keep trade cut is saying start 9. It's even saying that at the top. So if it's start 9, it's a little bit easier.
Maybe there's like a defense or something that she probably counted. But yeah, I mean, even if it's this, it's not terrible. Like, you know, if you look at the starters and what keep trade cut is saying start 9, then you just swap around Quentin. In my opinion, swap around Quentin for Elijah, or you can go back and forth from both of those guys. And that feels really comfortable.
Yeah, I think I agree. If it's start 9, this is much easier because it's okay. Johnston, Elijah, Jerick McKinnon. Which one of these guys are gonna hit? Which one's the best starter of the week? If it's start 10, you might be in a more difficult position where, ideally, you would look to add depth. I mean, I'm just looking at the other teams.
Yeah, they have a lot of depth. Well, some of
Yeah.
them do, but some of them, like team one here, Josh Jacobs, JK, he has Jamal and Shamaje, so that feels a little bit more comfortable. Maybe we can get her some more depth. I mean, I don't know
Let's
what
look
we
at
can
some
do
options.
there.
So
Yeah.
she said 2 firsts next year. Let's look at some of these teams that are maybe not so hot. Let's look players only. And at the bottom, we've got Duff Maniacs. He's
Yeah.
got Gibbs, Akers, Brian Robinson, Devin Singletary at wide receiver. We've got Bateman, Nico Collins. I mean, the only player on this team
Brian Robinson, personally.
I was going to
Or
say Cam Akers.
Yeah, but I mean those two. I guess for the price, if you can get a cheap, if you can send a random third for Brian Robinson, that feels comfortable. I think you're gonna have to pay a little bit more for Cam.
A late second, because if you have your second round picks, as much
Mm-hmm.
as I have been hesitant on Cam Akers in the past, if the price is right and you can send a mid to late second for Akers, I think that's one of the best pieces to kind of give you a little extra depth there.
Yeah, I definitely. Hey, Cam Akers. I mean, you know me, I love Cam Akers, especially second half of the season, last 6 games.
Yeah.
He was a league winner there. So I'm really excited for Cam and or Brian Robinson. I guess the cheapest one you can get, right? I mean, I can't really think of any other running backs that are cheap right now. I mean, unless you can get a James Conner. I mean, you've been buying James Conner for a third all off season.
James Conner is a great option. The team 9 has James Conner, so I would send a third. I would send 2 thirds even if it needs to get the job done for James Conner. You know, another name that I thought of is Brandon Cooks. I've been talking about Brandon Cooks a lot as like a win now flex buy. He's really cheap. Late second, early third is his price point at the moment. You add Cooks to your lineup instantly. That makes me much more comfortable with the options that you have. So yeah, those are a couple names that I would suggest targeting. Even a Keenan Allen, like if you can get Keenan Allen again for like a late second, early third, or send 2 thirds or whatever it might take, that's a name I'd be willing to go for. I would not be wanting like a Mike Evans on this team. Yeah, those are a couple names.
Yeah.
And then break glass, I wonder what OBJ would cost. Like, could you send a late third for OBJ? You know? I'd be willing to try it in this format with this team is going for it. Like, there's a chance that OBJ is like a top 30 play and he's, a good flex option for you. So those are a couple names I would try.
Yeah.
I definitely think you're competing. Like, you've got tight end covered with Kittle. Your RB 1 and 2 is very good. Your quarterback 1 and 2 is very good. And you've got 3 wide receivers that we really love. Again, it's just finding a couple more pieces. I would say even if you just get one of those deals that we talked about at running back or wide receiver, I would feel comfortable to wait with this team and then reassess in season to see, what we're looking like.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think you just got to continue to exactly what Zach said. Honestly, I mean, I just echo that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else that we can really do besides the other options we gave you here, Mighty Bouch. I'm just. What about like going for a Gibson? I mean, I know you like Penny. I'm not a Penny guy, but maybe you wanted to offer Penny. Samaje P. Ryan, maybe he might be a little bit of a different price now. And Aaron Jones, I know you just bought for a third, as well.
The guy who has Aaron Jones is probably competing though.
Yeah, probably.
That's the issue.
A Damian Harris feels really comfortable as well.
Damian Harris is a good name.
Team 6. That's about it. Yeah, and I agree. Wide receivers, I like the Brandon Cooks one. I can't really think. I personally like a little sleeper. Probably does. It may not sound sexy, but Adam Thielen.
Okay.
I think he's clearly going to be
really cheap.
He's going to clearly be the number 1 guy there. It's not going to be sexy, but at least he's going to be a guy you could potentially lean on as a last flex resort. I know it's a little bit tough with a rookie quarterback, but he might have to lean on somebody, and that could be Adam Thielen this year. We'll see. But
sorry, I had myself on mute there. What's up, Mighty Bouch? We just graded your team. If you're just joining us, rewind the stream, have a look. We gave some ideas, gave you some direction, and then we'll move on to the next team, but we will leave some time after that just to hear any feedback from you in the chat, okay? We want to make sure and hear any feedback. NT says, I just subscribed to Flock Fantasy with your guys' code. How can I get you guys to look at my team? So first step would be to join Discord, NT. I just put that in the chat. You must be Nick Tyree, because I see a purchase here from a Nick Tyree. So if that's you, make sure you're in our Discord. And then when you're in our Discord, go to the Fantasyland tab, okay? You should be able to see this here on the left side. Go to the Fantasyland tab. And then even just under content releases, you see my name here, DM me. DM me a screenshot of your purchase, just the account page, okay? And then we'll go ahead and look at your team tonight, all right? Oops. Sorry, guys. But let me know if that makes sense, NT. And thank you so much for signing up.
Yeah,
we'll definitely get to your team tonight for sure. And anyone else who is wondering, hey, how do I get this for myself? How do I get my team looked at? Anytime someone uses our code LAND, LAND, at flockfantasy.com/land, if you choose the Mother Flocker tier, then one of your teams will be graded by yours truly, by us on a live stream. So, so yeah, just like NT here. Just Dak says, there you go, Nick. Gonna get your team looked at ASAP. Zach's a baller. Appreciate that, Dak. Appreciate that. Okay, guys. So let's go on to the next team here. Like we said, Mighty Bouch, please feel free to, like, even as we're grading this team, feel free to give any sort of feedback that you want as we go through the next team, which is NateDawg. Okay, let's look at NateDawg's team here. He sent a link. I'm assuming we're going to be able to... Okay, so this is his league already.
Yeah, his team is risky for a biscuit. I mean, if you look at the trades that he sent, his name is risky for a biscuit. So
okay, cool. So he says, not sure if you're still making these videos. Absolutely. As long as there's teams to grade, we'll be live, guys, every Sunday night. But we'll love y'all's input. Definitely have gotten y'all's insight on some larger trades of mine. I'll be posting recent trades below. Okay, so
awesome.
From what we see on Keep Trade Cut, it's a 12-team, one quarterback start eight.
That's right.
And these are some moves that he's made. He bought Brandon Ayuk, Drake London in a second, and sent away Andrews and Dameon Pierce, which I'm fine with that deal. I think that's good value. I don't think this is a tight end premium.
No, I guess it depends on
if it was, it would say up here.
A tight ends, yeah. Let's continue to look, because I'm interested to see what his tight ends look like.
Yeah. Second deal, he gets Hollywood Brown a first, a second, sends away London in a second. So kind of tearing down and adding a first round pick. Don't mind that.
Yeah. Okay.
He gets Alexander Madison for a second round pick, which I think, as much as I'm skeptical of Alexander Madison, I would send a second for him right now. Like, I would do that deal. I'm not doing a first like I'm seeing, but I would definitely do a second. What about you?
I'm just off the Alexander Madison train. I don't want to buy him, but the value there makes sense. So that's what I would say, right? The value, he is value for a second. I would agree. He's not a first for me.
There's definitely a price point where it makes sense, and to me, I think a second, I would be willing to do that for sure. Next trade, we send away Jamar Chase. We receive Olave, 2 first, and the 112, which I wonder if you can tell us what you spent the 112 on, Lazy. He says it's not tight end premium. The next one, we got Gibson, Elijah Moore, sent away Evans and Shark, and I think you did great in that deal. I mean, I don't want any part of Evans. So overall, I think the only trade that me and Badake don't agree on wholeheartedly would be the first one with the Mark Andrews. But knowing that's not tight end premium, how do you feel about that deal? Because I personally am okay with it. What about you?
Knowing that it's not tight end premium makes me feel okay, but I guess I don't like the second trade where he tiered down from Hollywood Brown and got a first.
Okay.
I think I would have just rather kept London as a whole, because then I tier up in my wide receiver room, but I trade away my tight end, and then I tier back down, right? And it's going up and down, but then you lose your tight end. And when you look at your team, I guess we can just go straight into
Yeah, I was gonna say what might be
what that
important here is
what the tight end
team looks
is.
like as a whole.
What was
So
your brisket for a biscuit?
let's look at this team. Keep in mind it's one quarterback. We now have Musgrave and Trey McBride as our only tight ends, so you're definitely a little bit vulnerable there if you want to compete this year. But looking at this team, I mean, let us know your intentions, LazyBones. I'm not sure that you really are thinking that you're absolutely competing this year, right? You got 3 first-round picks next year.
It's NateDawg, by the way. It's not LazyBones Team.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my bad. I thought he was replying as if he said no, not tied in premium league, so I thought it might have been his. But you're right. But look, in this league, we don't have risk it for a biscuit with us at the moment. But I assume he would be aware that he's probably not competing this year, right? With Madison, Gibson, Penny being our top 3 running backs, and then having no tight end really to rely upon, I imagine he probably was not ready to compete this year in his mind. Yeah. And that's why he would have made the move where he added a 2nd-round pick and tiered down. You know, I think that's why he would have made those kind of moves.
And it makes sense. It looks like he has 3 first-round picks in 2024. So maybe he's trying to get a Bowers, Brock Bowers or something like that, and just go with the younger. Or he really believes in Trey McBride and Luke Musgrave. I think that's the difference. I like the first trade. I just didn't like that he tiered back down. Because imagine having Chris Olave, Watson, Ayuk, and London. That just feels a lot more comfortable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I agree. I'm not saying Hollywood Brown is like a scrub or anything. I'm not saying that he's not going to be the long-term answer. I think I feel more comfortable with London there, because you go to from a top 10, top 12 wide receiver in Dynasty to now a top 22, right? Like depending on in people's rankings. So I think that's a big difference there, in my opinion.
Lazy says he's rebuilding. That Chase trade had the league big mad. I wonder, so was the league, did they think that Chase was an overpay, or did they think he should have got more for Chase? Because to me, this is like an ideal trade down from Chase to get Olave, who's still in my top 10 of my Dynasty rankings, and really I would say 2 first-round picks and a second. I don't think the 112 this year is really worthy of what a late back-end first is typically worthy of being in a Dynasty rookie draft. It's pretty weak at the back end of the first, so I thought that was good value.
I'm trying to see who he got for that first, though. That 112. I mean, if you look at his team, either he traded that away, because you think of a Zach Charbonnet, you think of a Devon A-Chain, you think of a Will Levis, and he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that here. So he must have traded that pick away to get something.
Well, let's start from the top. At quarterback, we got Herbert, Tua, Trey Lance. So, I mean, in a 1 quarterback, this would be a great team in a super flex. In a 1 quarterback, you're looking great. You're looking fine. At running back, Madison, Gibson, Penny. 3, I would say Madison is clearly going to be the most valuable of these 3 running backs here in year 1. But 2, really 4 running backs that I really think are sleepers in my mind, that I love just having on my Dynasty rosters at like very low costs, because I think if situations go their way, they could actually become very valuable in Dynasty and either become important parts of your team as flex options or pieces that you can trade away for value. He says picked Rashee Rice. Okay, so maybe this isn't showing his taxi. Maybe you have Rashee on your taxi, Nathan.
You know why as well? I'm sorry. This is 1 quarterback. We're thinking in a super flex.
I wasn't.
I was thinking in a super flex. Sorry.
Okay.
Remember 112, 1 quarterback? I mean, I guess Devin's not falling to the 112. Zach Charbonnet's not falling to the 112.
You're right.
So that's our fault. So I guess having Rice there.
Okay, yeah. You know what? That definitely paints a better picture. You're right.
Yeah.
So the 112 is obviously less valuable in a 1 quarterback. So really, when you look at that trade, it's Rashee Rice, Olave, and 2 firsts for Jamar Chase. And look, I think that is pretty even value. I mean, if you want Jamar Chase, you need an absolute, crazy deal like this. And ideally, if you have Chase, you do tier down to still someone who's in the top 10 and add a bunch of capital. So to me, if you're not competing and you wanted to get the most out of Chase, I think you did well. But yeah, looking at the rest of this team, sorry, I'm going to get rid of the other teams that are on my tabs. But yeah, at running back, Madison might be someone that you could sell high in season. Gibson, Penny, Evans, all guys that I would just suggest to hold right now. I don't think their value is where it could be.
Yeah.
And then at wide receiver, we've got a core of Olave, Watson, Ayuk, Hollywood, and I guess you could put Elijah in there. That's a good core. That's a really good core of wide receivers. Really, all you need to do this time next year is convert 1, 2, 3 first-round picks, add a couple running backs, and add a tight end. And then I think you're back on the train of, competing next year in 2024.
Yeah, look, I don't mind it. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just trying to think of what I'm trying to say here. I'm just trying to see what this team looked like before as well. Was this team competing before? Because if you think about it, he had Damian Pierce with Antonio Gibson, with Mark Andrews, Chris Olave, Christian Watson. I guess he really wasn't competing. I guess his wide receiver room was a lot weaker at that time.
If you look at those trades, really, there was never a running back that he added outside of Gibson.
Yeah.
He did have Damian.
Yeah, he had Damian, but he traded him away. But the wide receiver room would have not been as sexy as it was if he didn't trade away Mark, right? Because in reality, he had Drake London, Christian Watson. He didn't have Brandon Ayuk or Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
So he had Christian Watson, Drake London with Elijah Moore, Rice, which makes sense now. So I actually like that you got more depth in the wide receiver room, and then going to be building and hopefully drafting running backs in 2024. With this move. So
like if you assess your league and you say, hey, I'm not competing, I think this is the best way for you to address that, is to tier down to players that we still love and get future draft capital, So I feel like you did a really good job with those moves. It is hard, obviously, letting go of a Jamar Chase, a Mark Andrews, but I think you got good value and still pieces that you can build around. So really, the way I'm playing this is, to be honest with you, dude, I don't think, unless you think you can compete this year, I would say Madison is someone I'm looking for a first-round pick for. I ideally want him off my team before the year begins.
Somebody is going to buy. I mean, he's running back 18 at the moment.
Yeah, his value's crazy in the community.
That's kind of crazy right now, and I'm setting a random first for honestly, whether that's in 2024 or 2025. I'm just trying to send it to every single person in the league.
Yeah,
that's how I feel. I don't care where that
if you could do it for Ziggy. I mean, this is players only. He's 5th, so he's competing. He's got Javonte, who's not going to start. I don't see us for a while, right? He needs to get healthy. I don't see a Samaje Perine on this team. So is he going to start Jerick McKinnon, Swift, maybe Brian Robinson? I mean, I feel like Alexander Madison could be very intriguing to a team like Ziggy here, who has his first-round pick. He's got a good tight ends. He's got decent wide receivers. So I'd be curious about sending Alexander Madison to a team like that. Because all these other teams at the top here, I mean, I don't feel like they need running backs. They all look pretty well off at the running back spot. Yeah. But yeah, look, I think you've made a lot of moves that were really, really smart to put yourself in a position where you can almost, it's not even a rebuild as much as it's a retool for 2024.
Right.
Nathan says the Mark Andrews trade was first. My thought process was, am I going to win in 2023? Not sure. I tried to rebuild for 24 and see if I can tier when I get to the 24 class. And I think you've done a perfect job at doing that. So really, at this point, your identity is quite defined. The only thing that we would suggest is potentially trying to move some of these names that might hurt you in the sense of helping you win. I don't know what your league setting is. you know, is it reverse max points for that the standings work out? Right. Is it record? You know, but either way, if you can get a first for Madison, that's ideal. You might have to wait till in season to get that sort of value. And then with a guy like Gibson and Penny, again, guys that we like, but with your build, I would be willing to try and get a second round pick for those guys if things hit their way.
Agreed.
Outside of that, keep Evans, keep Ford, keep Abani Konda. Olave is someone you want to build around. Same with Watson. And, you know, funnily enough, Hollywood Brown's actually 200 IQ for this sort of move you've done here, because he will not have good quarterback play for at least half a year.
Yeah, and then he's going to skyrocket potentially.
When Kyler comes back, yeah, that was actually very smart of you to have done that. But yeah, overall, I think you've done a really good job. You know, Tua, Trey Lance, a couple names that you could also look at moving in a one quarterback format, though I'm not sure you're really going to get much value for them.
Yeah.
Although you could maybe look at like Team 2, who has Rodgers and Kirk Cousins. Like, hey, man, you want Tua? If Tua starts out hot like he did last year, he's a top 5 quarterback in the first 5 weeks, that could be your trade target there.
Yeah, can see what you can get for them. And I think he might have, I don't know, I was going to say he might have a stack, but
yeah, hold Herbert. Here's what I'll say. With this format and this team, the following players I want to hold and try and retool for 2024. Herbert, don't care about any running back. All are available in a deal. Olave, Watson, Hollywood. That's it. And I didn't say Brandon Ayuk because I feel like he's one of those names that you could move with so many questions at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
I'm not wanting to move him intentionally, but again, like if a good offer comes through, I would be willing to negotiate him. Outside of that, I mean, I think you've done a really good job of putting yourself in a position to retool for 2024. Now you just need to hope that these firsts end up being where you want them to. This is players only. You have Daddy's Mahomes pick, and it says that he has a 9th best team.
Yeah.
There's no way that team is the 9th worst team. Players only. With Mahomes, Pollard, Dillon, Tajay, Damian, London, Kupp, Evans. I mean, maybe. It only takes like 1 or 2 injuries for that team to end up with the first pick.
To really crumble. Yeah, I mean, look, anything can happen here. So you just kind of you got to lean on what you have right now and just see how the season pans out, I would say. But I think overall the team's decent. I would agree, you know. Brandon Ayuk, a name that I wanted to touch on that you said, you know, you're not actively selling, but I'm happy to sell. I think I would field offers. That's what I would say. I'm not, you know, trying to make something happen, but I'm definitely fielding offers and sending offers out to see if I can tear up in any way, or just to see where he's at. Wide receiver 21 right now. I'm not sure how you feel, but someone like a Quentin Johnston, I would see if I can go get for him. I think Quentin's wide receiver 20 right now. Obviously better quarterback, and you can kind of get a stack there with Justin Herbert. That's just a name that comes to mind. A Jerry Jeudy, a Jahan Dotson, a Jameson Williams also comes to mind. You know, all these guys are ranked lower than Brandon Ayuk right now. Jahan Dotson, wide receiver 24, Jerry Jeudy 23, Jameson 25. I would be looking to go and tier to some of those guys now, especially if you're kind of rebuilding. I like all those guys over Ayuk right now.
Agreed. But overall, great job, Nathan. And I can see how, you know, that Jamar Chase trade would have upset the rest of the league. But who cares?
Yeah,
honestly, like, who cares? Do what's best for your team.
Yeah.
Like if you're not competing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have Jamar Chase and you're gonna finish 7th. You know?
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. So I think you did the best with the context of your league and what you had. So well done.
Not bad, man. I think the next team is NateDawg.
Yeah, just quickly, I wanted to go to Mighty Bouch's comment. She said, "Thanks, guys. Okay. It is a start 9. Sorry about that. I've sent out some feelers for some of these guys already. Thanks for the input. I'll move towards depth rather than trying to upgrade current starters. Yeah, that's awesome. Perfect. I think you've done well. She says, looking at sending a first, fourth McKinnon for Swift and Brandon Cooks. I don't like that move personally.
A first, fourth for McKinnon for Swift and Brandon Cooks. Yeah, I don't want to send a first.
I want to keep that first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Try and make moves. Like, if you're sending a first, I need an absolute star. Do you know what I mean? Like, or at least someone like an Adams, a Diggs. You know, someone who, is aging, but I know they're going to help me win right now. As much as we love Swift, there's still question marks, right? I mean, this team still sent just a fourth round pick. There's not a lot of commitment from this team who just let a running back walk in free agency in Miles Sanders. You don't want to be sending that first round pick for a guy like Swift and Cooks. There's just too much uncertainty around those two names.
Yeah.
But as always, Mighty Bouch, you have your fancy hotline, so feel free to DM us. Nathan says, would you guys tier down from Madison and Brandon to a tight end maybe? I would be open to that.
I guess it depends on the tight end. Because,
you know, a couple tight ends that would be ideal is some of these rookies that I don't anticipate really doing all that much in year one. Like a Kincaid, like a Michael Mayer, like a Sam Laporta. You know, those are a couple names. I know you have a Musgrave and you have a McBride. You know, honestly, I might hold off right now. Like that, I feel like the more I think about it, upgrading tight end is probably a move I'll do next offseason when I'm already done retooling.
I would say that I would agree there because I'm not, you know, if I'm not going to get one of these younger tight ends like a Kyle Pitts, there's no point. Might as well ride it out. If I can tier from Madison to Brandon Ayuk for, I don't know, a T. Higgins, a Devonta Smith, something like that, I'm really interested. I don't know what that price looks like. I'm just throwing out random names. So don't.
You're saying upgrade at wide receiver. So Ayuk and Madison,
and then tier up to some sort of another wide receiver. Instead of, because in my eyes, long term, Madison is not going to keep this wide receiver 18 value. Maybe it does go for the first 6-8 weeks, but I don't think he gets more into a. He's not going to be a first in a late second or a first and a third, right? I think it's just going to be a first max. So if people are valuing him like that, and Ayuk is a wide receiver 21 right now, I think he is. I'm happy to do Madison Ayuk for, like I said, a Devonta Smith or
the issue with that might be that these top teams don't really need running backs, and the one guy who doesn't really have a wide receiver we'd want to tier up to.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that would be something that I would do. But that's, I don't know if I want to do tight end. If it is tight end, it has to be somebody that I really love, like a Dalton. Unless you want to go back and get Mark Andrews to see if that person wants to give you Mark Andrews back for Madison and Brandon Ayuk. I'm not sure if he would do that, but I'll take my chances there.
Yeah. But again, I think you've done a really good job of positioning yourself for 2024.
Agreed.
Hits must be on LazyBones Team. NT, I sent you some information in a DM, man. Let me know if you get that over on Discord. I did send you a DM. But what you need to do is, you see this Join Here tab? You need to put your username, your Flock Fantasy username, in this Join Here tab. Just say, hey, my username is, and then put your username. Our developers will unlock all of these roles for you in the Discord within 24 hours. But I've sent you a DM for now so we can look at your team. So check your DMs. But yeah, we will go on to the next team. Just again, to everyone who's watching, if you are curious how you can get your team broken down on the stream, it's quite simple. All you got to do is sign up with our code LAND, LAND, at flockfantasy.com/land. You'll get 30% off. If you choose a Mother Flocker tier, then all you got to do is sign up for that with our code and then DM us on Discord, and we will be grading one of your Dynasty teams. If not today, then next week on the stream. Okay, the next team we have here
is LazyBones, which is also in this same league, by the way, so keep that in mind.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw, but apparently they're brothers.
Oh, okay.
Which is awesome. LazyBones and NateDawg. At least he says that's a little bro. I think he said that earlier in the chat. So
okay,
that's cool to see. And I think his team is ABCD.
Okay.
Could be wrong.
Why don't we go ahead and read out that context then?
Let me just double check here.
He says, "What's up? Here's another last-minute submission. I'd figured I'd go ahead and slide in here with this home league that started up last season. And yes, this is the same league as NateDawg's. He's a little bro. Context 1 quarterback start 8, not including kickers and defense. 10 bench, 4 taxi. No limit on our taxi squad by popular vote. I landed 2nd place last season and am swinging at that trophy this year. I'll tag a couple of noteworthy trades and I'll leave the rest to y'all's input. I'm going to try and catch the stream." Okay, so I know you're with us here, LazyBones. I will say, the first thing I will say is I need to see your running back room, but if you're competing, I don't know I would have sold Madison for a second. So we'll have to, let's look at the team before we look at these trades.
Sure. And I think it's, once again, I think it's A, B, C, D. I could be wrong. He said, yes, sir. Okay, yeah. So quarterback, obviously, is 1 quarterback. Lamar, Sam Howell, you're fine there. Running backs, Brees Hall, Ramondre, Devon, James Conner. So that feels pretty, that feels comfy deep there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously wide receivers, CD, Devonta Smith, Quinton, Rashad Bateman, Hyatt, Peoples, Marshall, etc.
A little bit of weak depth there.
Yeah, and then Pat the Dragon with Greg Doltage. So that's good. That could be an interesting maybe piece to move there. Maybe one of those tight ends potentially. But look, now going back to the trade.
He says I'm gigahertz.
Oh, you're gigahertz?
So we've got Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones. At running back, we've got Saquon, Ken Walker, Charbonnet, Chase Brown, Eric Gray. I think I would prefer the Madison side of that deal. Judy, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Calvin Ridley, Josh Downs, Juju, Rashid, which I like Shaheed on the bench there, and Xavier and Puka. And then we've got Kyle Pitts and Chig.
Okay.
So let's look at these trades. Firstly, with the Madison one, I have to be honest. I think in your scenario, wanting to compete, he would have been a really ideal 3rd running back in this rotation. You know, Saquon, Ken Walker, and then Madison. He says, yeah, I sold Madison a while back. So, you know, obviously you would want more value for him now if you were to have sold him. But, you know, you're aware of that. That's unfortunate. What can you do? It's already happened. It's in the past. The second trade, you got Judy, a 2nd, a 3rd, and you sent away Stevenson and a 4th. And I like that deal.
I like that trade. Yeah.
I think that's good value for your side. And then the other one, you got Downs and Xavier Hutchinson. You send away Dylan and Perry.
I like that trade as well.
Yeah, I'm not particularly high on Downs, but I don't think it's, like I would say it's pretty even value there. Sure. Wanting to compete this year, we got Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones. We're fine at quarterback. If it's start 8, then our starters are looking like Hurts, Saquon, Walker, Judy, DJ, Pittman, Calvin, Kyle Pitts. Correct. So that's a pretty strong starting 8.
I think it's decent.
The wide receiver room could use some
I would say that my question mark in this wide receiver room in the starting positions only would probably be Michael Pittman. Just because of, you know, Anthony Richardson's coming in. It might be a little bit shaky. He may not be the guy that you want to compete with this year. And that could change. You know, maybe Anthony Richardson shows up and, you know, he makes Pittman a top 15, top 20 wide receiver. But I feel like that's not the route or the my vision for Michael Pittman and Anthony Richardson this year. But I think everyone else I feel really confident in, you know, Jerry, DJ, Calvin feels comfortable, Saquon, Walker with Zach Charbonnet as a just in case, Jalen Hurts there. So yeah, I feel really confident in both of those guys, or in all those guys right there outside of Michael Pittman again.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a vet wide receiver that we can buy just to give ourselves a little bit of more room in that wide receiver room. Let's look at players only. Yeah, we are. And let's see, this last team, there's no way this team is like 12th. Like, this is a good team. But look, I mean, Cooks is still someone I would buy if you're trying to compete. You just want a little bit more depth at that position. But at the running back spot, I mean, you've got Team 11 here who has quite a few running backs. I wonder what Samaje Perine would cost. I would send out offers for Samaje Perine, and you really only need to get one of these deals done before the season and then reassess your team after the first 3 to 4 weeks. But Brandon Cooks, Samaje Perine, if any names come to mind for you, Deontay Johnson.
I would even, I guess I don't know what your league is, but I mean, the guy that I brought up, I'm happy to send a second. It'd be like DeAndre Hopkins right now. People are question marking him. If you want to do something like that, like if I'm really going to try to compete, maybe I want to compete, maybe I'm willing to send a first. Maybe I'm willing to send something big to really take my team to the next level here. What about it?
He asked, what do you guys think about shooting for AJ Brown? I think it just depends on the price.
Yeah, it depends on the price.
It would be really nice to pair up AJ Brown with Jalen Hurts. I wonder if you can send like Michael Pittman. Jeez.
Like, yeah, I mean, look, I'm just gonna name random names. I know may not be helpful, but I love someone like Elijah Moore this year. A Christian Kirk, I think it's a little bit harder because you do have Calvin Ridley. I know Zach, you talked about Keenan Allen earlier. I think that could be a nice
Keenan's
option.
A good buy, yeah.
A Tyler Lockett, that's still really low. I think he's still going to be a top 20, 25 wide receiver, in my opinion. I'm really happy to go out and try and send something there.
I wonder if Team 1, after getting Jamar Chase, might feel like they can move off of Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
I wonder if you can send a late second for him.
Surely you can do that. I mean, I'm happy to look at someone like Amari Cooper. I feel like that team is. I don't think he's gonna want to sell, but these are names that I'd be really confident in. A Deontay Johnson, I feel really confident in this year.
Yeah, I like Deontay.
And I think Brandon Cooks, I think that's the last name. And you also talked about OBJ as well. These are all names I'm willing to go out and try and get just to get more depth, whether that's to throw a second. If I'm going to throw a first at something, I'm going for absolutes, right? I feel like an absolute name to me is an Amari Cooper, right? If that's a late first, I feel like I'm getting absolute value, in my opinion. Like, I feel like he's going to for sure bring me top 12, top 15
Even
return.
who would be awesome is Diggs.
Yeah, you can do it. Exactly.
12.
You can do a Diggs. That feels really comfortable. I mean, you can send Team 11 a first for T or DK if you wanted to do something like that as well.
Yeah.
I think either one of those guys feels really comfortable.
About this league is like there's not many teams who are truly awful that like I feel like a lot of these teams would think, hey, if things go right for me, I could probably compete, you know? And that might make trading a little bit more difficult if you're trying to compete. Whereas if you're rebuilding or retooling like Risk It for a Biscuit was, it's almost easier to get that sort of value. But yeah, I agree with all the names that you mentioned. A surefire one is Cooper Kupp, but it's going to depend on the owner. This guy has Kyler Murray, Kenny Pickett, Derek Carr, Stafford. In a one quarterback, I wonder how he feels about his chances this year. He has Eckler, Akers, Adams, so he's probably not moving, but he's also got Kelsey. Yeah, there's no way you're getting a vet off him.
Yeah, that's going to be tough potentially.
I almost wonder if you could hit up your boy.
Your brother, you mean?
Like Risk It for a Biscuit. If I wonder if he would be willing.
Let's do a live trade together right here, boys. How about we get something cooking?
I wonder, like, if he would be willing to give you Madison.
Well, they traded back and forth for Madison.
No, I know, but that was a while ago. Situations are different, and we just told Risk It for a Biscuit to try and get value out of him. I wonder if we can do Madison and, like, I don't think he's going to move Olave, but, like, Madison and Ayuk.
Okay.
And then if you can send him... Even like, would he like? I feel like Charbonnet for Madison's pretty fair value, and so, but you have Ken Walker, so that's a little bit tough. I wonder if you can get Madison and Ayuk, send your first, and Chig. Is that fair?
Look, it may be fair on paper. You let me know, LazyBones. I mean, it may be fair on paper, but Madison, again, still not somebody I want to invest in. And
I do in this scenario personally.
And if you want to invest in it, sure. Like, I don't know. Yeah, and I get it, this is a difficult part because I don't want anything to do with Madison. I'm just trying to sell him, and I know if you're trying to compete, I'm still trying to buy him. I'm still trying to buy him for the cheap. Like, I don't want to sell Madison at all. I don't want to buy Madison at all for a first. That's what I would say.
But you're not getting Madison for a first. You're getting Madison for Chig. Look at it in that way. You're getting Madison for Chig, and you're sending Ayuk for the first, essentially, in this deal.
Sure. And
I wonder if you could wiggle your way and like have conversations with him. If you can wiggle your way from Ayuk to Watson in that deal, then that's ideal. I just don't think he's going to do that. And I don't even know if he's still watching the stream. That would be my ideal trade right there. But if it has to be Ayuk, I don't think that's a bad compromise between the two of you. Because for him, we just talked about he has no need to compete right now. Madison's going to help him do that. Ayuk's going to help him do that. And we also said, try and get a tight end that we really love on your team. We're doing that, and we're giving him draft capital. I don't know. I mean, this to me makes a lot of sense. I would potentially even consider Hollywood Brown in that same deal. But Ayuk is a little bit more ideal. So, look. I don't know. If you like it, Lazy, try it. I mean, you can even send this clip to Nate if he's not watching anymore. This feels like it makes a lot of sense, especially with Nate being like, I don't want to compete, and Lazy being like, I do want to. I think that gives you a little extra firepower for this year that you need.
Yeah, look, definitely go try it out. If you like it, is this something I would do? I would say no, but if it works out for you both, for both of you guys, go for it. I mean, if you feel like the value is there, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with I'm okay with you trying to rock out with that. So
yeah, but look, I think at the end of the day, this is another one of those teams where, and I think we're in this season now of Dynasty where it's like most of the moves have been made, right? I mean, we can do a little bit of trade for this player, add depth, or tier up or tier down. Most of the moves have been made, and that's the case with your team as well. If we look at your starting roster, like right now, you're starting Hurts, Saquon, Walker, Judy, Calvin, Pittman, Moore, Kyle Pitts. That's a solid roster. Like, you don't need necessarily to do anything right now. You can wait and in the first 5 weeks, assess where your team is. The issue is if a player like Alexander Madison is a top 12 running back in the first 5 weeks, you're not getting him at that value anymore. You know what I mean? But there could be other values. It could be a player who has like a MCL sprain and they're out for 5 weeks and then you try and buy them on the low. But look, I think at the moment you don't necessarily need to make a move, but there's just a couple moves that you could make based off what we said. So I hope this is helpful.
Yeah, hopefully.
Let us know if you have any final questions as we move on to the next team. But Clyde, while we're waiting, he says, how do we submit our roster to you guys? So if you guys want us to look at your Dynasty roster, it's quite simple. All you got to do is sign up with our code LAND, L-A-N-D, at flockfantasy.com/LAND. I put a direct link in the chat. If you use our code, which again is LAND, and you sign up to the Mother Flocker tier, and you make you pay for your membership, then just DM us on Discord, and we'll make sure and grade one of your Dynasty teams on a live stream. Everyone gets one of their teams broken down. But we will move on to the next team.
I think the next team might be Kyle.
Yeah, because we've already graded a team from Blind, so we'll message him afterwards. And Kyle, we'll look at your team here, and then the last one we'll look at is the
NT.
Gentleman who just signed up.
Yeah, I think it's NT his name. Okay.
Nick Tyree. So I'm gonna put this league sleeper
league
ID. And if you can do me a favor and read.
Yeah, sure. Here we go.
The context
Yeah, we'll
And
have
I'm
a
going
look
to go to
through
the
it.
bathroom real quick, okay?
No worries, no worries. We'll have a look through it. Kyle says, time to send this team in. You guys have helped me a lot through the hotline with the roster over the last 2 years. Appreciate you, man. 12-team PPR, 1 quarterback, adding a flex in 2026. 3rd year of the league. Tanked year 1, but still made the playoffs. Finished 4th last year with most points. I know Zach will hate the recent ETN trade, but I just didn't want him to get all of my roster while he's on the bench. Okay, that's fair. I mean, the fact that you tanked and still made the playoffs, that definitely happened to me once, and it was a bit frustrating. All right, let's look at your team. So you Surge, which is team 1, which is awesome. Okay, let's have a look at this really fast. Let me close these tabs out. Kind of give Zach some time. So 1 quarterback, once again, 1 quarterback. It looks like it starts 7. It's a 12-team. Your team 1 here. Joe Burrow with Jordan Love. I think we all know what that looks like. I think it feels pretty confident. You kind of set and forget that. Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Austin Eckler, Cam Akers, Dalvin Cook, Big O Roscoe, Jerome Ford. I love it. And let me look at these. Actually, we look at the trades once Zach gets back. Wide receivers: Jamal Chase, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. Oh my goodness, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Drake London, Jerry Judy, Calvin. Really talk it up. Kyle Pitts, David Njoku. This is a super team. Surge.
Yeah, I was looking at this team.
This is something special here, and I don't even see the trades.
So let's look at the trades. Keep in mind, 12-team PPR, 1 quarterback. So trade 1 was the ETN one. I'm assuming he did that to get Gibbs.
Yeah, well, so Gibbs, and you got a 205, and you said the 109. I'm assuming the 109
I don't hate that, honestly.
Yeah, I don't hate it either, because the 109 is clearly outside of
in a 1 quarterback.
In a 1 quarterback league, right? I think Zay Flowers at the 1-7, and then 109 it could be, I guess, whoever is going to be at that point, right? So ETN and like a Devin, or ETN and a Will Levis, or whatever the case may be.
I love ETN, but I would do this trade myself. So I think you did well there.
And you got Dalvin Cook. And you said Okonkwo in the 2nd.
I don't love this deal, especially given I feel like he wasn't necessary to this roster.
Yeah.
With Jahmyr Gibbs, Eckler, Bijan, I think I would have rather kept Chig in a 2nd.
I would agree there. I wonder if he feels some type of way about Dalvin and him signing to a team where he can get that 2nd back maybe a little bit later, and it may not be the same with Chig, and probably he doesn't need Chig. It was just a piece to get the deal done, because he has Kyle Pitts and David Njoku.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I just think Chig gains value in season. But all right, next one, got the 102 sent away Lance in the 103, and in a 1 quarterback, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So that's how we got Jahmyr Gibbs, I assume. Got Akers in a 1st, sent away Hollywood Brown and Tony. As much as I love Hollywood, I would do this deal.
Agreed. I like that trade as well.
Gets Olave and sends all your old baggage. Well done.
Beautiful.
Gets a 1st and trades out of the 112, and all it cost was Alan Lazard. Well done. Good job.
Amen.
I mean, yeah, this is a super team. He said he got it did it to get JSN. Okay.
Yeah, and this is perfect, man. This is a perfect team, right? I mean, if you think about it.
I mean, let's look at your power ranking. You're number 1. There's no surprise there in players only. And it's start 7, Kyle. So is that correct? Start 7? Burrow,
Bijan, Jamar,
Eckler.
Wilson.
Let's just say those 2. That's 3.
Sure.
Chase, Wilson, Olave is 6, and then Kyle Pitts is 7. So,
yeah.
Dude, this is a super team. I think Kyle just wanted to flex on the chat. I think Kyle just wanted to flex on everyone here.
Just want to flex, and they're also going to add a flex spot in 2026, so another 3 years. So in 3 years, you're going to be able to start.
There are certain teams that you have in certain dynasty leagues where you're like, I love this team, and I think that's what this is for Kyle. It's like how can you not be proud of what you've built here? Yeah. Dalvin Cook is your 5th running back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dalvin Cook's your 5th running back. And there's probably not a scenario in which you even start him.
Yeah.
Chase, Wilson, Olave, JSN, London. I mean, this is like the team of dreams for some people, for probably everyone. So, I mean, you still have your first in 24. You
have two 24 firsts.
You have two 24 firsts.
Yeah.
You're set. You're set, Kyle.
You're set, brother.
The only, like, with a team that has everything, what do you say? The only thing I would suggest is, and I've done this in the Alpha League, I have a team that I think is unbeatable, but I have Kyle Pitts as my starting tight end. In that scenario, when you have a bunch of investment, you have a bunch of capital, why don't you cover your bases? Go buy an Andrews, go buy a Goddard, go buy a Hawkinson, go buy a Travis Kelce, ideally. And then when you don't move Kyle Pitts in that deal, you just buy one of those tight ends. And then when Kyle Pitts decides to become a superstar, great. You're not relying on that to happen this year.
And I wonder if that's his Njoku, right? I mean, because he's probably holding these first just in case, to constantly flip and flip and flip. Because once you send that first for Travis, once you send that first for Mark, you probably have an extra 3-4 years. I guess you still have Kyle, but same thing with Njoku, right? I mean, that could be the case, but I would agree. I do like that move.
Yeah.
Of trying to get those top tier guys.
You know what's great is the guy who has Travis Kelce. I mean, unless he's just unrealistic, this team is not competing against yours. Like, is he starting Rashee Rice? I mean, this team is not competing. Alvin Kamara probably will be suspended for 6 weeks. So his starting lineup's going to be Lamar Jackson, Nick Chubb, James Robinson, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, both receivers on an awful team, Rashee Rice, and Travis Kelce. Go get Travis Kelce. Yeah. You're essentially securing a championship. I mean, would you send away Dalvin Cook and his second? Try starting there. You might have to do like a first, and you might have to involve a first. That's the only other move I could think of telling Kyle.
Honestly, like, you start really low. Try Cam and Calvin. Try Cam, Calvin, and Dalvin, right? Like, I'm willing to do that. Obviously this is me lowballing, right? But
yeah,
like, try low.
I wouldn't want to sell Calvin in that deal.
I mean, because you're getting Kyle Pitts, you're not going to start Calvin. You're not starting it, right? I mean,
fair.
And in reality, you're going to sell Calvin later at some point because you're not going to.
That's fair.
He's 28 years old. By the time everything kind of starts turning, is like, well, I'm Cam, Cook, Calvin. Throw a second if it has to be done, and whatever, just to get Travis if you really want. It seems like an overpay, but I really don't think it is. But that's me. Try to get Andrews and Kelce. It's impossible. The league won't let me have them for anything.
Then you got to ride it out, man. Honestly, from even that comment, it sounds like the league doesn't want to trade with you at all.
That's why the little small trades means a lot, right?
But look at the power ranking, 99 overall, and the next team's at a 58. I don't think I've seen a discrepancy like that. I mean, shout out to Bob. Oh, poor Bob. Bob's sitting here at a 27. What did you guys do to Bob in this league?
Shout out to Bob.
Poor Bob, man. Kyle, you've done incredible. I want to leave like a minute or so. Let me know if you have any direct questions about this team. But overall, you're stacked. Your bench players could start for other teams. He says, I sent the 109 David Njoku and Calvin Ridley for Kelce, and he wouldn't buy it. Well, that's just stupid on his part, because there's like, what is he doing with this team? Does he really think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Rashee Rice are going to lead him to a championship? And James Robinson. I mean, that's at that point, that's on him. Like, you figure it out, bro. You're not going to win this league. But yeah, let us know if you have any last minute questions. But you're stacked. And look, even if Kyle Pitts doesn't become the superstar this year, you have Njoku, who's definitely a solid starter for you. Yeah, it does sound like they're salty, lazy. But well done. I think you've done great. And like you said, it's a lot of little micro trades that got you to that position. But I don't hate the Etienne trade at all. I think it makes a lot of sense for you. Look, if someone sends me the 103 and the 205 for Etienne and the 109 to one quarterback, as much as I love Etienne, I'm taking the deal. So,
yeah,
I think you've done really, really well there. But yeah, overall,
we appreciate you, man.
Great job. And thank you for your support, Kyle. You've always been, day one. Trent, you can get power rankings on Keep Trade Cuts website. They have a power rankings tab.
Sure, yeah.
So Bob has made 2 trades since the startup, so that's why. Yeah, he's one of those members who's just not as active, and it's probably hurt him in the long run, is what it sounds like. Okay, so we'll go on to our last team for the night. Again, to anyone out there who does want their team broken down by yours truly, we do the stream every Sunday night. And the way that you can get one of your Dynasty teams graded by us is by signing up with our code LAND at flockfantasy.com/land. You got to use our code. It'll get you 30% off if you choose the Mother Flocker tier. If you choose the Mother Flocker tier, make your payment, send us a DM on Discord. We'll get you all set up. And then essentially, once you sign up, you just put your Flock Fantasy username in the Join Here tab, and you'll unlock all of these channels in the Discord under our tab. One of those being the roster submissions tab, where you can submit your sleeper ID, any context, etc. DM us if you have any questions. But the last one that we're going to look at here is from NT, and we've got his sleeper ID here.
Yeah, just send me that sleeper ID, because I don't have it.
Yeah, I'll send that to you now. And then NT, if you're watching, we're gonna get your fantasy hotline set up soon after the stream. So just keep that in mind. And I'll read the context. That's the sleeper league ID. My team is Smell My Pits 12-team Superflex PPR IDP.
Love that.
He says, sent away my 102 for the 108 and 109. Don't like the quarterbacks in this year's draft, and the teams they are in. Couldn't get any other trades going and needed some wide receiver depth. Traded Zeke and Elijah and Jared Goff last season for what ended up being the 110 and Gibson. Feel like an idiot for it now because Goff is a valuable Superflex quarterback, but I was new to it and regret it. But I still feel okay about this team overall. So in hindsight, I probably hurt myself giving away the 102 because I need the depth, but I felt I also need some wide receiver depth with how many flex spots and wide receiver spots there are. Still like my outlook, but want to know you guys' opinion. Don't roast my trades too hard. This is a Jared Goff trade. Okay, so let's look at the trade. Sends Jared Goff, Zeke, and Elijah. So you got off Zeke at the right time. You just didn't get off those other 2 assets at the right time.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the 110. So obviously in a Superflex league, we can all look at this trade and say, yeah, in hindsight, probably not one that you would have wanted to have made.
Yeah, agreed.
But what I am concerned about, NT, is that we might have just repeated history, right? Potentially undervaluing some of these rookie quarterbacks. You had the 102. I'll tell you what, in a Superflex league, I have seen the 102 go for some absolute hauls. And I can't speak for Badake, but I assume that neither of us would have taken the 108 and the 109. And this is one of those really tough spots in Dynasty where it's like, okay, because to me, you want to be in the top 6 of this year's rookie draft in a Superflex league. Outside of that top 6, there's a lot of question marks in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
So just in my personal opinion, if I trade back, it would have needed to be in like the 105 and the 108, or like the 106 and the 108, because even at the 108 and the 109, I just feel like I've tiered down. And this is what's tough about rookie drafts, because what we have been saying on this channel is, hey, draft best player available, and then you can trade for need. So at the 102 right now, in almost every league I have seen, that is Anthony Richardson. And, even if we stumble across Dynasty rankings right now, before he's even taken a single snap, we have Anthony Richardson who is currently valued as a 19th overall player in Dynasty. 19th overall player. He hasn't even taken a single snap. So the issue is that you traded for need, and it ended up potentially hurting the value of what you got for that pick.
Yeah.
What I would have done personally is I would have told the league, I will draft a quarterback here at the 102. And I've done this in my leagues this year. I will draft a quarterback at the 102. It's a super flex league, and there's at least 2 to 3 teams in my league who I know need quarterbacks. And if no one's willing to give me the value I need to move out of the 102, then I will take the best available quarterback, and I will wait to sell him at the right time. I will trade for need. Because you can see here, we've got Anthony Richardson valued right around Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle. And every startup that you and I do, Badake, we see Anthony Richardson go ahead of Waddle, go ahead of Olave, go ahead of Amon-Ra, pretty easily. Yeah. So, that's what I would say. It's just, thank you for the sub, Venom.
Appreciate you.
That's what I would say. If anything, I'm hoping that this is like something that in the future, maybe it's helpful advice. Maybe you're completely happy with the trade. He says league communication feels non-existent, but I hear you need to just reach out more. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what's good about the hotline now that you're part of it, man. I mean, we're here. Send us messages. What do you think? We can help you with all those trades, all your thought process when you're thinking about trying to make a trade or even send an offer. Because I think that's what a lot of people miss out is they don't know the first step of where to go and then take the second step. So
yeah. And it is hard when like a league is not very active and you're sending out offers and you're like, oh, I feel like I need to make this move before the draft. But yeah, just the only reason I'm saying this is for future purposes. If you're in that position again, just always draft the best player available unless you get a haul. Dave says, I got a haul for A-Rich. I had no intention of keeping him. Traded for what I needed afterwards. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know that leak that Dave is talking about. He traded Anthony Richardson and he got back Desmond Ridder and like 3 first-round picks, Yeah. So you can always trade for need later, but in your actual rookie drafts, if no one's going to give you the value, stay put and take the best player available. But like Badake said, now that you have the fantasy hotline, we'll set that up after the stream. Anytime you get a trade offer, just send it through. And everyone in the stream who's with us on Flock Fantasy, they know we reply within 24 hours. We'll say our thoughts. We'll give our opinions. But just wanted to start there. But let's look at the team.
Yeah, let's look at this team.
Players only. You're still top of the league.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry, just before we go, the context, it's a 12-team Superflex PPR. And I think he said it's start 10. So
yeah, he put in the chat, start 10, 2 flex, 3 wide receivers and 2 flex spots, which is also very important to know as well, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, smell my pitch, Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence. So your quarterbacks are set. You set and forget. You feel really comfortable there. Running backs, Breece Hall, Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, Clyde, Michael Carter, and Gus. I like Breece and Stevenson. Obviously, I think 2 guys you can kind of lean on. Maybe, well, Stevenson you can lean on this year. Breece you have to wait and see what he looks like. But let's look at the whole team first. Wide receivers, looks like you have Amon-Ra, Deontay, Lockett, Dubs, Pierce, Nico, and then, kind of non-existent wide receivers. Not any guys that we want to lean on.
Has our rookie draft not happened yet then? That's what I'm assuming. Yeah.
Yeah, rookie draft hasn't happened, which is good because you still... Well, let's look at tight ends. Tight ends, Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, Hayden Hurst. So, yeah, the rookie draft hasn't happened, and he currently has the 108, the 109, the 110, and it looks like he has a 302, 308, 402. So that feels really confident. I mean, depending on who falls to you there, looks like you can get a Zay. Looks like you can get...
That's guaranteed Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston and Zay.
Yeah, and Zay, which feels really confident there for all 3 of those picks. I think sometimes it falls right out. Maybe you'll get... I think Quentin normally goes at the 1-7. I could be wrong.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's either Quentin or Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers.
Okay, sorry. So yes, either one of those 2, and then at the 110 you can get a Dalton Kincaid, and maybe we always say draft best player available. So even though I know you have Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, Hayden Hurst, see what offers you can field. If you have a trade window, you've probably seen some of our rookie drafts. Maybe try to implement the trade window before this one. Hey, you got extra 5 minutes, or whatever. If not, draft best play available, kind of like what Dave did. He drafted Anthony Richardson, draft in this case Dalton Kincaid, then trade him away for somebody that needs a tight end at that point in time.
I'll just say that for me with the 110, like unless Will Levis goes like at the 1-7, and then you can go Addison, Johnston, Flowers. Unless something crazy like that happens, like you're sitting with Kincaid, Levis, whoever is on the board, I would probably suggest to try and move out of that pick. And ideally what you would do is get any first round pick in the next 2 years. That's what I would do.
Well, according to this, he's saying this league values Josh Allen weapons really high. So that is also a good indication that like you can potentially get not just, well, I could be wrong, but maybe it sounds like the way you're saying that these people are willing to pay anything and everything to try and get someone that's with Josh Allen right now, like a Kincaid, which also makes me question if he goes earlier.
My first course of action, if people do value Dalton Kincaid, well, Dalton's not going to go at the 1-7 though.
True.
I mean, that's ideal for you. If Dalton goes at the 1-7, then you grab Johnston, Addison, Flowers. That's perfect. But I don't think that happens. Again, grab 2 of those wide receivers that we like, and at the 110, if people do value Dalton Kincaid highly, there should be a battle for that pick. And all you need really is a future first in any like 24 or 25. Like I would just personally take the shot on one of those. Like I'd rather, hey, I got the 105 for 2024 at the end of the day, right? That's going to be worth it. Yeah. Even if Kincaid is like a top 12 tight end in his first year. Can you tell us, NT, if this is tight end premium? I don't think it is. But that would be my suggestion with the 110. Try and sell it. If you can't, take best player available. I would even be willing to move back. Like, you just don't need him. So, like, if you can move back to, like, the 111 or the 112 and then take, the best running back on the board and still get, like, a second-round pick, like a mid-second. If someone gave me the 111 or the 112 and, like, the 203 to the 204 for the 110, I would do that. But I think you can get maybe even more for Kincaid.
Yeah, I would agree.
But, yeah, all of a sudden, your roster is looking like Amon-Ra,
Deontay,
let's say Addison, Flowers, Deontay, and that alone is a good enough wide receiver room to build around. And the only other thing I would say around the 110 is maybe you could trade that for a running back.
And that was my next point, because he was asking about trying to get Kendre Miller plus maybe something else. Personally, for me, NT, I'm not a big Kendre, fan or believer. I know Zach is, but I would go from the 110, and I'm pretty sure you were going to go in this same route. Why not like a Miles Sanders? Yeah, Dobbins. Why not Dobbins? Exactly. Any of those running backs along those lines, to try and help your running back room and kind of bring that back to life, because that feels really comfortable there. But once again, I still go back to if this league is really big on Dalton Kincaid, I'm trying to squeeze as much out. Maybe that's just me. That's just me, trying to be selfish. But I think you should be selfish in this case if you know that everyone is trying to target Dalton Kincaid right now. And
to be honest, you kind of have Team 2. You kind of have them by the balls here.
Yeah, Team 2. I think Team 3 needs a tight end. I know he has Shig there.
They've got Cole Kmet and Dawson Knox. And what do you know? They have Javonte Williams on their team. That could be perfect.
I think it could be. It could. I'm shooting for the stars. Like, can I send Dalton Kincaid and not throw something else at him and get a Travis Etienne?
Yeah, I like that deal.
That's the type of stuff I'm looking at. I'm
happy. What's up with the top 4 teams in their tight end spot?
That's what I'm saying. Like, even Smoke. I mean, I know he has Greg. I know Greg, maybe he wants to lean on that, but I think he would like Dalton Kincaid. He will prefer Dalton Kincaid. I can't really see anyone else. I mean, Team 7. He has Nick Chubb. I don't know if there's anyone there that you kind of want. There's no one on this team I would want from Team 7 personally, but he does have Josh Allen. So
could you get Chubb and the 211, for example? Because you kind of have him in a tough spot. Honestly, this guy, this MILF Hunters team, he has Josh Allen. We know he has no tight end of note, right? He, at the 111, is going to be hoping and praying that you don't take Kincaid. I don't know how your league works, if it's a slow draft or whatever the case may be, but at the 110, if there's a way for you to shop it when it's on the clock, you might be able to take this guy by the balls. You might be able to get the 111. You might be able to get Nick Chubb.
Maybe you get Nick Chubb in the 111 or Nick Chubb at 111 in
a P. He wouldn't pay that much. That's too much to move back one spot.
Maybe, but I mean, if he really loves this guy and he has Josh Allen, maybe. Look, I could be overthinking it. Once again, trying to squeeze out as much value you can get there. If what you're saying in your league is really really the thing. I mean, I would also lean to team 8, Naji Germany. That's funny. That's a funny name. I know he has Darren Waller. Maybe he's trying to compete here, but I mean, for the future, he's going to need something else, right? I mean, you can get another running back here. You can get another wide receiver here.
Just not a running back there that I like, but yeah, I hear you. I mean, look, I would say ideally, you use that pick for Javonte Williams. You use that pick for Travis Etienne if you tag something along with it. You use that pick for J.K. Dobbins. Those are all trades I would be super happy with. And then all of a sudden, you've got Breece Hall, Ramondre, J.K. Dobbins, Gibson, Amon-Ra, Addison, Flowers, Deontay, Lockett. You know, like all of a sudden your team is looking very, very good. So, look, I think your team overall is in a very good spot. I wouldn't be opposed, by the way, of adding like a QB3 to this team. I don't think you necessarily need to do it this year, but like in a future draft. I wonder what Sam Howell would cost. Could you send like your 302 and your 308 for Sam Howell? Just start there, start a conversation. He probably says no, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And then I would even do that same thing for Desmond Ridder.
Yeah.
Who has Desmond Ridder?
Smoking Herb. He kind of needs Desmond, though.
Yeah. But again, like I said, 302, 308. I would even send the 402. I don't care about those picks. Try and get a Sam Howell or a Desmond Ridder. Yeah. There's no guarantee that those guys are even superstars or starters, right?
Yeah.
But it gives you flexibility and upside at a position that is the most valuable in a superflex format.
Yeah, I would agree there. And I think overall your team is a decent team. You're going to get your starters and your future here in this draft, whether that's wide receiver or with Dalton. This is something else I would say. Yeah. Maybe Zach won't like this, but if you can, how does the league feel about Kyle Pitts? If you could draft Dalton, you keep Dalton and get a haul for Kyle. Vice versa, you know, like obviously kind of what we're talking about with Dalton, but if someone feels really confident about Kyle and you can get even more, I'm happy to do that as well. Because you do have Evan Ingram still that can help you. I mean, unless you keep Kyle Pitts, you draft Dalton Kincaid, and you sell Evan Ingram for something as well. And you keep both of those guys. You keep Evan and Dalton and say, you know what? No one wants to give me the price that I want. Let me get at least one of these tight ends off my team. Even team 2 that has Cole Kmet and Dawson Knox, maybe he'll lean more on Evan Ingram than those two guys. I mean, I would.
Evan Ingram.
Maybe. What?
You said Evan Ingram.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying team 2. He probably doesn't want to lean on Cole Kmet and Dawson Knox. I would rather lean on Evan Ingram.
Okay, my bad.
So sell Evan to team 2 if he really doesn't want to pay that price.
Like for Evan for Alexander Madison. I would do that.
Yeah, you can do something like that. You can do any of those trades and get some running back depth, or maybe sell Evan Ingram, send a random second 24 and get a Jahan Dotson or something like that, right? Like whatever the case may be. Because remember, this is 3 wide receivers and two flex, so that's 5 wide receivers. So you're gonna have Amon-Ra, Deontay, let's just say Jordan Addison, Quinton. So you technically do need one more wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not opposed to selling Kyle Pitts. I've only done it once in my lifetime. I have a lot of Kyle Pitts, but it took an offer like this. Okay, so I think this kind of offer could make sense for you. If you draft Kincaid, you send Pitts away, you end up getting Olave and, you know, a future first and then swap a second. Like, I would do something like this.
Yeah.
But again, it's going to take the right value, because then all of a sudden, if you do a deal like that, then you've got Olave, Addison, Johnston, right? And you still have Evan Ingram and Dalton Kincaid. So you're still pretty good at the tight end position. But I would only sell Kyle Pitts if you get a premium offer like that.
Yeah, I would agree.
But yeah, that is pretty much it. That is all the teams for today. NT, again, thank you so much for signing up.
Yeah, man,
Not only did you unlock that roster submissions tab, which we just graded your team, you now unlock the Dynasty Trades show. And a lot of people who are with us on Flock Fantasy may or may not know, anytime you put a Dynasty, a trade that you've done, if you make a trade, pop a screenshot with some context here, and then we'll put it on the show that we do each week. We'll set up your fantasy hotline here soon. And of course, you have unlimited access to the website itself. But that is it for today. Again, big shout out to everybody who submitted their teams, who's supporting us over on Flock Fantasy. A trade just went down in the Lima League.
Let's see.
But yeah, so
Billy,
big shout
Billy
out.
on the move.
Big shout out to Coach, Mighty Bouch, NateDawg, LazyBones, Blind. We've already graded one of your teams. We'll send you a message about that. Kyle and NT. So
we appreciate
you guys. Thanks for hanging out. We will be live tomorrow, so we'll see you guys then. But enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you soon. All love.
All love.